Yesterday, Walmart made headlines after announcing it was pulling Cosmo magazine from its checkout lines. Now, the company says it was a business decision, but they took into consideration concerns by the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. The group says Cosmo sends the same messages about female sexuality as Playboy magazine. Some people say the magazine is empowering. Others call it degrading to women. In fact, we conducted a little unscientific poll during our show yesterday. 57% of you said that you found Cosmo, at least the cover, degrading. Now, Cosmo claims it has a focus on empowerment for women, despite the backlash. So we want to talk about what empowerment means to women. I'm joined by Professor Jane Hall, who is a communications professor at American University, who studies how women are portrayed in the media and politics, and Sarah Hillware, the founder of Girls Health Ed, an organization that provides health education programming to girls and young women. So let's tackle this question first of Cosmo magazine at Walmart. Did Walmart make the right move?
I actually think not, because I am not in favor of moving something, women should be empowered to make their own choices. I do think the magazine gives a mixed message because it empowers women and yet it tells them to please the man, pretty much. But I think the idea of being pressured to move a publication away as a former journalist, I find that disturbing. I think that that's making a decision about something that people should be able to make a decision about themselves.
Right. Going beyond this, I want to know if you agree or disagree, but also, as a dad of two little girls, 7 and 5, do I want to be walking my daughter through the checkout aisle and here on the cover of this magazine is a scantily clad woman with the word sex plastered all over this magazine. So while Walmart says it's about, empowerment and it shouldn't be there, is it also about kids?
Well, I think that what we need to do is we actually need to arm young girls and women with the tools to discern messages in the media. So it's not about the exposure, because the exposure is going to be there one way or another. Eventually our kids are going to stumble across illicit images on the internet or in a magazine, and they're not removing it from the shelves totally. Right. They're actually moving it to a different part of the store. So the messages are still going to be out there. So what we really need to do is we need to give youth the tools to be able to say, okay, this is a good message, this is not so good.
Well, it is true. I'm kind of two minds about this, because it is true that when you see women, not only in Cosmo, but other publications, objectified, and it's an impossible standard of beauty. It's very thin, very bosomy.
Right.
It does affect the way girls and young women feel about themselves. This magazine it's interesting, it's a little like Playboy in the sense that there are good articles in it, how people used to joke about that. I just think that women are depicted in a way that hopefully is going to change. But to move a magazine out, it just is not a good idea to me.
So you're kind of seeing it in the eye of the beholder, because some people could see it as empowering, other people are seeing it as degrading, and Walmart is just kind of throwing up their hands and saying, we want out of this conversation, we want out of this argument.
And the other thing is, this group has said that they are part of the Me Too movement. And that is really, to me, not what this is about.
Walmart is saying this.
Well, the group that took credit for getting this banned has been active on this for a long time. They used to be called Morality in Media. They are a conservative group, and they said that it had to do with the Me Too movement. Now, that's a good thing, but the Me Too movement is about men using their power position over women. It's not the same thing to me, and I think that's part of what pushed Walmart, is the climate. So again, are you in favor of that or not? It's more complex, actually.
Right.
Go ahead.
And I think that Walmart's decision to remove the magazine from the checkout counter is a reactive decision, and we need to focus more on proactive decisions, which are how to have healthy relationships and how to define sexuality in a healthy way up front, right? Before we get to the stage where we're talking about this media outlet or that media outlet, it's time to get to the root cause of the issue.
So I mean, some people are seeing this obviously as degrading. Is there an argument against that? Is there an argument for that? I mean, it's very easy to see both sides.
Well, again, I see both sides. Regrettably, that kind of depiction of women as very highly sexualized does have an impact on how girls feel about themselves. If I had a daughter, I might not want her to be reading Cosmo. And again, I see the point that this group is making. The question is, do you force a company to move it out of sight? That's where I think it's problematic. But absolutely, magazines have a standard of beauty for girls, and girls' self-esteem is affected by what they see. I mean, it's all photoshopped. It's not even real women's bodies. But that's a bigger issue about the depiction of women, I think, than this specific initiative.
And is that the depiction of women that we want out there? If that was the only magazine in the checkout aisle, would that be okay?
No, but it's not. And I think that we also have to hold publishers accountable. So for example, you take Elaine Welteroth, who is the former editor-in-chief of Teen Vogue, and what she's done is she's actually managed to diversify, and she's managed to put women on the cover whose bodies may not all look the same, and also talk about the issues. So I think that, you know, what we need to do is we need to, again, get to the root cause of the issue on both sides, which are, one, arming youth with the right tools that they need to discern messages that they're receiving, but two, we need to make sure that magazines are held accountable for the way that they're portraying and depicting women.
Being a dad to daughters is not getting any easier these days. Ladies, thanks so much for coming in. A very important discussion. I'm glad we could have it with you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.